Hello BookTube, this is Aaron from Aaron Read a Book or Aaron Read a Book. I've got a Friday Reads and it's a very Garb Augusty Friday Reads, so um, it's a real mix of garbage. I'll start with the first book I finished for Garb August, and that was The Rats by James Herbert, who's sort of a staple of Garb August. I love this cover as well. I was very pleased when I found it. Um, James Herbert also wrote a book called The Fog, which I read earlier in the year, and I really enjoyed The Fog. Mostly because it's a lot of The Fog is made up of sort of little short stories of people being affected by the fog and going mad and killing each other and stuff. The Rats also has that element a little bit, but I think The Rats was his first book and he didn't use it as much. So at the beginning of The Rats, you get lots, like sort of little short stories of people being attacked by rats. But then the majority, I'd say like 90% of this book is following one person and their story. And that person is a teacher who one of his students gets bitten by a rat, and he takes him to the hospital, and it's an unusually large rat, and they they're carrying some sort of odd disease that the doctors can't deal with, and also the the unusually big rats also seem to be unusually intelligent, and they seem to be kind of leading the normal sized rats, and they know when to retreat and stuff. It was a really fun book. I didn't like it as much as The Fog. It has some great set pieces in it. Like there's a great bit where some rats attack a train in a tunnel, and there's also one of the things I didn't like about it is how stupid some of the people are in it, like, which you kind of expect of with trashy books. Like this teacher guy, he gets hired by the government as someone who's sort of seen rat attacks and survived, and has sort of quite a lot of experience with the rats compared to everyone else. And this is set in London, and but he, even though he knows more about the rats kind of than everyone else, he's still an idiot. Like there's a bit at the end of the book where they've kind of devised. This is not really a spoiler, but they've kind of devised clothing that helps with the rat attacks, as you would. You just walk around in medieval knight armor, and he's just wandering around with his helmet off, and you're like, you're an idiot. You're the world expert on these rats, and you're just like, well, the helmet's annoying, isn't it? But yeah, it was still fun, even though there were stupid things in it. You kind of want stupid things in trashy books as well, don't you? It's part of the enjoyment. But yeah, I will keep exploring Herbert's books. They were very fun. The second book I finished was it sounded really up my street because it's medieval history, and that was Timeline by Michael Crichton. And I've never read Michael Crichton before, but one of my workmates who loves James Herbert said, "Oh, I've read all of Herbert. I've read all of Michael Crichton as well. I love him." So I thought I'll give Michael Crichton a go as well. Obviously famous for Jurassic Park, and ER. I was a big ER fan. And Timeline is about. It has some really interesting stuff in it at the beginning, and I thought it was quite creatively done. It's about kind of an Elon Musk character. This was written 25 years ago, but the guy who runs this program sounds very like Elon Musk, and he's basically running this mysterious company that have bought up loads of land and stuff, and no one's really heard from him in years and what they're doing, but they've got like huge staff and stuff and buying loads of chemicals and things. And one day, an old man appears in the desert, and he's sort of mumbling and confused, and no one knows how he got there because he has no car near him or anything. And this policeman who finds him takes him to the hospital, and the nurse he's there is friends with. It's kind of like this weird stuff happened in his body because they do an MRI scan, and some of the veins in his fingers don't, or not veins, I don't know what medically it is, but his fingers look out of sort of like they've been put together, sewed back on almost, but wrong. But there's no obviously scarring or anything. So, and his clothes also are in the same way. They're kind of weirdly made. Not the seams don't match up and stuff. And he's mumbling about medieval France, and then it jumps to this sort of historical dig in France, and these people are big digging up a monastery and things, and basically they find their professor goes missing, and they find a message from their professor from medieval times on a piece of paper, so almost as if he's gone back in time. Anyway, the two storylines kind of come together, and these sort of three students are brought by the Elon Musk type character to go back in time and rescue the professor from medieval France, because he's gone missing. The way the time machine works in this is really interesting because it's all based around quantum computing, which must have been very theoretical back then, 25 years ago. Even though now we're kind of building quantum computers, they're a long way from being the normal thing. So it was ahead of its time in that way. And I thought the whole setup and beginning of the book, although trashy and obviously some of the science and history was absolutely bonkers, it was really interesting. But then the second half of the novel was really boring. I guess Michael Crichton just wanted to be a non-stop action after that, and it is just non-stop running away from people, hiding, getting captured, escaping, running away from people, hiding, getting captured, escaping, just over and over again for this whole second half of the book. And it's just really repetitive and boring, and you kind of don't get to know the characters because of that. But it's trash. It is trash. Like, people will say things like, "Oh, you remember Dave? He got in that bar fight years ago, and he was angry ever since then, and now when he went back to the past, he's sort of taken it out on this." And then you're like, why are you telling someone's entire backstory to someone who already knows him? But yeah, it had a good promise, but it didn't live up to it. I think trashy books, you forgive them a lot of sort of writing errors and things, but I can't really forgive it for being boring, and it was pretty boring, and I love medieval stuff. But yeah, I probably would try another Michael Crichton anyway. Let's see how it goes. Maybe a shorter one. But yeah, they're my two trashy books I've read. I'm also currently reading two stories from Garbology every night as well. I'm over halfway through. I've got through the adult section, the monsters, the crime. What's next? Monster Mash I've just got through. Weird Menace I'm up to, so I don't know what that'll be. And I'm really looking forward to the last section, When Animals Attack. But yeah, Garbology has been a lot of fun. The other thing I'm reading, and I'm about halfway through, completely different, is Endurance by Scott Kelly, who is the brother of Mark Kelly, who was nearly Kamala Harris's VP candidate, but but didn't quite make it. And they're both astronauts, twins, Scott and Mark. I first saw this on Robin's channel, Bookends and Biscuits, and she really enjoyed it. She does loads of like sci-fi stuff normally, but this was a non-fiction one. This is also my away mission for Summer of Trek. I can't even remember the name of the event. But yeah, so I'm about halfway through this, and it's basically just about Scott Kelly's year on the ISS, on the International Space Station, with a Russian guy, and also it's called Endurance, like Alfred Lansing's book about Shackleton, and he actually takes Lansing's book up to space with him and reads it all the time, so that's really cool. It's really interesting learning about the just sort of everyday life on the ISS, and lots more goes wrong than I thought it did. Like they keep their supply things keep blowing up or failing. They go up on the Sawyers. Yeah, but it's just interesting learning about exercise and the experiments they're doing up there and stuff, and just the general trip up and stuff is very cool. But yeah, halfway through, very much enjoying it. I might start another book as well. I don't know. I've literally just finished Timeline like 10 minutes ago, so we'll see how it goes. I think I'm going to have a little break from the garbage, apart from Garbology, which I will continue to read until I'm finished it. But yeah, let me know if you've read The Rats. If you've read it, all of James Herbert or lots of James Herbert, let me know what your favourite James Herbert is. If you're a big Michael Crichton fan, what other books should I read by him that may be better than Timeline? I do think Timeline is regarded as one of his best. I quite like the look of Sphere as well, or maybe Jurassic Park. But yeah, how's your Garb August going, BookTube? Let me know down below. Have a good one, BookTube.